Don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of the storm, there's a golden sky and the sweet silver song of a lark. Walk on through the wind, walk on through the rain, though your dreams be tossed and blown. Walk on, with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone. You'll never walk alone.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of Kicking It Back with Matt. Tonight, we're going to be kicking it with a new guest, Wilson. Wilson, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Matt.
I see that you're wearing a Barcelona shirt.
Of course, if I'm going to talk about them, might as well rep them.
Yeah. So, how did you get into following them, being such a passionate fan follower?
So it's funny because I really started watching football, soccer, during the 2002 World Cup. Obviously, Brazil won that, and the main guy that I really followed was the man himself, Ronaldinho. He ended up signing with Barcelona in 2003, and I really wasn't following the club itself. I mean, everybody loved the man. He won the Ballon d'Or. He was the greatest, best player during that time. And then the club kind of shipped him off. And then, we kept hearing about this like young kid by the name of Lionel Messi. And just kept watching, and I'm like, wow, this guy's really good. Just kept watching, and then that's how I fell in love with the club, honestly.
Yeah, Ronaldinho was so good, man.
Oh,
His
he was
touch.
insane. He's a mix of he had the Brazilian flair, strength, and then just finesse. He had it all.
But he also had the ability to make something out of nothing
Yeah, yeah,
so quickly. And like some of these passes, it reminded me of like an NBA point guard.
right, yeah.
Like behind like the back and like these heel flicks and everything. I mean, he was just he I still watch a lot of his clips on YouTube.
Oh yeah,
There,
yeah.
there's a lot of good extended clips of him and doing all these awesome things.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, so then you came in with Messi
Mhm.
and you've had one hell of a ride ever since then.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just Messi. I'd say the golden generation of Spain itself. I mean, you have the trio of Busquets, Iniesta, Xavi, um, PK in the back. I mean, it was really a golden generation. So I guess you could say a lucky time for me to get into the club.
Yeah, they've done a lot. Like I don't know off the top of my head. Hopefully you do. How many league titles?
League titles, definitely double digits, but I'd say five Champions Leagues.
Yeah, five Champions Leagues for sure.
Yeah,
And how many of those were they all post Messi? Like when Messi was with the team?
there was one in '92.
Okay.
That was a Cruyff's team, and then in '06, but he did not play that final. He was actually hurt.
Yeah, and he was still what, like 15, 16 years old?
Yeah, yeah, he was still new into the scene. Nobody really knew what he was going to be.
Yeah. So I saw today that I was aware of this with the stadium issue. But
Yeah,
now they're going to be stuck in the Olympic for the rest of the year.
yeah, yeah. I mean, whenever you're building a new stadium, especially when you're making such drastic changes and improvements, it's always going to take time. I actually work in investment banking, so I did hear on the news that they're going out to JP Morgan to refinance some of their loans for the stadium. So that also plays in part into not having the stadium ready in time.
Now, the stadium that they're playing in currently, is that in Barcelona or is it outside
It's
of?
like it's on the outskirts of Barcelona. I've heard it's a little tricky to get there. That's why the typical fan base that you'd see in the new camp isn't as vibrant there. I think there's like a one subway there, in and out, so it's really tough to get over there.
Now the new camp, I also read that that's going to become the largest football stadium in the world.
Yeah, I mean, it before it went under renovations, it was the largest stadium in Europe. Obviously, when you're competing with the rest of the world, you're competing with college stadiums here in the U.S. So that's definitely tough to beat. But yeah, they're definitely increasing the capacity size there.
105,000.
Yeah, yep.
So what was it? Do you know what it was previously?
Uh 90 something.
Okay. So a little bit something like what Anfield did
Yeah, yeah,
with their two renovations. Okay.
yep, yep.
Um, I also saw and was looking at dogfight at the top of the table.
Yeah, it's been an interesting fight for the title this year. It's a headed race. I mean, you have the typical three names: Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Atletico Madrid fighting for the top.
I
Uh,
was under the impression though that Barcelona was like had a 7 or 8 point lead.
yeah, but then we started drawing a few matches here and there, so definitely those points dropped hurt us a little bit. But right now we're currently top of the table, tied with Real on points, but we also have a game in hand. There was a game canceled, I think 2 weeks ago. Our head doctor passed away somehow, so
Yeah,
they rescheduled that.
they just rescheduled that. I think it's for the 27th.
Typical La Liga too. I mean, the 27th, it's still international break. And Osasuna, the team that we're going to play, they have a game within 24 hours.
So that I got the date wrong. Maybe it's like the 29th. Or did I see that it said maybe they have up until the 27th to play? But you're right. If they're on international break, that game can't be played.
Yeah, yeah. There's going to be a few players away, so I don't know. I just hope we at least get a draw out of this. But I mean, it's tough for Osasuna because they play the next day, which is, I think it's insane. You hear Premier League clubs and all these managers complaining about not enough time between games, and you're playing two games within 24 hours. That's insane.
That's crazy. Um, I know Real the other day came out and said that they will absolutely not play
Yeah,
any
yeah.
without a 72-hour break. Speaking of them, they've turned it on. They've
There,
turned
I
the
mean,
season around.
it's typical Real Madrid, especially when you see them in the Champions League this time of season. They could have a slow start, but I mean, March or April, that's when they turn things around. The fact that they have a lot of players hurt on D, but they're doing fine.
Yeah, so they have to always fit in usually every year like a new Galactico too.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they need them to fit into the team, and they're doing that with Mbappe now.
right.
They're going to have to do it with Trent Arnold Alexander next year.
Yeah,
Nothing's been announced, but we all know it's coming,
right.
right?
Yeah, yeah. I joke around with my Liverpool buddies that he's been learning Spanish,
Yeah, he wants
taking
to go
Spanish
play with his
lessons.
best friend Jude. You can't blame him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I
Um,
wish it would have been the other way around. Jude had gone to Liverpool, but it's just who doesn't want to go to Real? As much as I hate them as a rival, like you also have to respect them too.
and Liverpool was never going to pay that transfer fee.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing.
It's just outside of their business model,
Yeah, yeah,
you know. So I think there's 9 games left.
yeah. Nine, more or less nine. Yeah.
Have we already had 2 Clásicos this season?
No, the next one I believe is in April, mid-April.
Wow, so that could be a huge.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we just beat Atletico last weekend. That was the second showdown and really deciding game against Real.
What do you think of the next round for Barca and Champions League?
I think it looks good. I mean, Dortmund, they're not really doing so well. We're doing well. We have a bunch of young guys. Um, Hopefully, the international break is kind to us and we don't have any injuries, knock on wood. But yeah, I think I'm feeling positive about it, which is it's strange, especially compared to the last few years.
All right, so let's get into the team a little bit because since we've had this massive transition from Messi, Suarez, Neymar
Yeah,
into this new generation, I know they got Lewandowski there. Did he resign for next year?
I think he might. I think he signed for an extension for 1 year.
Okay. And how's he fitting in there?
He's doing well. I mean, he's doing what he's supposed to do as a number nine, score goals, linking up plays up top. So yeah, I'm happy with him. Sometimes he misses the easy chances, but he still puts them away.
Okay, so tell me about this kid. He's literally a kid. He just turned 17 over the summer during the Euros,
Yeah.
became the youngest player to ever score a goal in the Euros. Uh, First name Lamine,
Yep.
right?
Lamine
How do you
Yamal.
pronounce it? Yamal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so tell me about this kid.
He he's amazing. I mean, there's I can see the why there's conversations and comparisons to Messi. They both played on the right wing. They're both left foot, but I see Lamine more as a Neymar, typical winger. Plays around on the ball, gives in good crosses and scores goals. The fact that he's 17 is just insane. It's absolutely insane.
And he played last year in the first team, correct?
Yes, yeah. I'd say that's when he broke out.
Yeah, so as a 16-year-old, and it's fascinating at 17, here he is, one of the biggest names in all of football.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's something that Barcelona has been missing over the past few years. During our peak, we'd make unnecessary big purchases. We got Coutinho, Dembele, Griezmann, and I mean before that we kind of relied on the academy, La Masia, and we're kind of returning to that philosophy. We're going back to the young kids in the Barca B in the academy. You have Lamine Yamal, Pau Kubarsi, center back. You have Gavi, Pedri. Those guys are all academy kids. So we're kind of returning back to that philosophy of relying on the kids, and so far it's paying off.
And those guys are all only like 20 years old as
Yeah,
well.
I think Pedri might be the oldest one, and he's 23.
Yeah, so you just brought up something interesting, and I haven't even thought about it. What's It's interesting to hear your take because you're in investment banking. What's going on with how they're limited to what they can do bringing players in?
Honestly, I who knows at this point. It's always a new story every transfer break. Hopefully we get our finances settled down, especially if we make a long, deep Champions League run. Um, yeah, I mean, I don't really think we need to be making big purchases or anything. We already have
Right,
a
but
big investment with the stadium, so
they're not allowed to right now.
yeah, yeah,
They're having to
I,
shed a ton of salary,
yep,
right, in order to
yeah,
bring people in. And like every time I read about it, like they're trying to do, I don't want to say something shady, but they're
hmm
trying to shift so many things around and like sell five players to bring in one player because
yeah.
in Spain they got this cap on the
It's
salaries and everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's just frustrating as a fan to see how we've gotten to this financial point with the club, right? I mean, we were so successful, and then you just to blow it all, we can't even register players. Like,
That's what I mean. Why can't they register players? I don't understand this.
yeah, yeah. To be honest, I can't really tell you what's happening behind the scenes, and I just hope everything gets sorted out, especially with the deep Champions League run. We did sign a new Nike deal, so and then with Spotify, there's additional money coming in, and hopefully instead of putting money into new players, we can rely on the new kids.
So do you think that this was created by Messi and the amount of money that they needed to pay him every year to keep him there?
I think he deserved every single penny. I'd say it's more so mismanagement from the previous president. He was giving unnecessary, outrageous salaries to. I mean, right? I think right now De Jong is the highest paid player on the team, and maybe he deserves it, maybe or not. But I don't think he should have been given such a large salary.
Well, I could tell you one other huge mistake they made, and it was a massive boost for Liverpool. Was
Oh,
taking Coutinho for
uh,
140 million,
I
right?
like to tell my Liverpool friends we sponsored their Champions League and Premier League win.
That transfer to you guys got us Allison and Van Dyke.
Yeah, yeah, and they won you both the league and the Champions League.
Yeah, I guess it's stupid moves like that. And what's odd to me is I felt like he was a La Liga player.
I don't know. I he might have been a La Liga player, but I didn't think we ever needed him. He always felt out of place wherever he was playing on the field. It was just again like another unnecessary purchase that we didn't need to make.
But he wanted to go there.
Yeah,
So, like,
yeah.
are there any specific reasons why it didn't work? It's just because they couldn't find the true role for him.
Maybe it's that. Maybe he was lacking some confidence. It just never fit.
That just seems odd to me because he had boatloads of confidence when he was playing at Liverpool.
Yeah, yeah. I actually met him maybe a little under 10 years ago when he was at Liverpool. When Liverpool came over here, they did a training session at Princeton University. So I got to meet a couple of Liverpool guys.
And how was he?
He was a little reserved, but he was young at the time.
Okay. Okay. What else can you tell me about Barcelona?
The future is bright. I mean, we're playing well. I think we have the most goals in all of Europe. Even though Ter Stegen did get hurt early in the season, I think Chesney and Net has been a solid backup. The future is bright. I'm really looking forward to the rest of the season. Even if we don't win Champions League, my expectations were so low. I mean, we have a bunch of 17-year-olds, 18, 19-year-olds on the field. Like, just do what you can, no matter what. Like, it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, I wonder what the amount of youth in the squad um, is the pressure going to get to them.
But these guys have also been in other big games. Spain just won the Euros. Young Lamine Yamal scored against France in the semifinal. Like, I'd say the pressure is nothing new to them at this point now, which is insane to say because they're teenagers.
All right, so give me your prediction. They win in La Liga?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Champions League.
Oof. I think we have a really good chance. If we beat Dortmund, I'd say we play Bayern next. We played them earlier in Champions League. We were in the same group. Beat them, and we'll see.
I think as long as Real's in the competition, they got to be the favorite.
Oh, of course, they're always a favorite in Champions League, but I'm fairly confident we could definitely beat them out as well.
What was the result of the first Classico?
Um, I might have to Google that really quick. Yeah, we beat them 4-0.
Oh, wow.
And then we also beat them in the Spanish Super Cup 5-2.
So where is this second round of the Classico being played? Home or away? They must
It'll
have
be
beat
home.
home.
It'll
They
be
beat
home. Yeah. Yeah.
they beat Real Madrid 4-0 on the road.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Which
That's
it's insane. Like we definitely have that number this year. So I mean, the past like 3 years, I'd say I was a little nervous playing against them. Not as confident, I'd say this time around. We're hitting stride.
so. Is Yamal your favorite player on the team?
I'd say Pedri. Pedri is fun to watch. I mean, he's kind of got like that Xavi Iniesta like presence on the field, kind of orchestrating, pulling the strings. He's definitely my favorite player to watch right now.
I love Iniesta.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
love
just the
watching
majesticness, the finesse, and everything.
the 2010 World Cup. I'll never forget it.
Oh no, without a doubt.
I'll never forget it, and I was so ticked off because I'm a Netherlands guy. Because I grew up with that generation,
Yeah.
back in the late '80s, early '90s.
Hmm.
So I've always rooted for them and cheered for them, and what they did in the final, I absolutely hated.
Yeah,
They,
yeah,
they had 8 yellow cards.
yeah. And they should have gotten a red card.
Yeah, but yeah, to watch that Spanish team in that World Cup, that was something. Especially that midfield was just unbelievable.
Oh yeah,
It
yeah,
was artistry.
yeah,
The way that those three guys worked together.
oh, yeah. I mean,
I
it
love
was
that team.
typical tiki taka. You had, which is even more insane about this team, is that you had a mix of mostly Barcelona and Real Madrid players. Who, I mean, this was during the Pep and Mourinho eras when I mean, you were throwing blows during these games, and for them to like kind of push everything to the side and say, "Hey, let's go win a World Cup," that's crazy.
All right, I'm going to bring my boy Henry on. We're going to shift gears a little bit and get into
All right.
this USL news from yesterday. And I've got some questions on how this is even going to work and where they're going to get the talent and the teams from. Henry, man, how are you?
Two certain games, but other than that, good.
So I shot you a note yesterday. I saw this announcement from the USL that they're going to be the first promotion relegation league in this country, which I kind of find fascinating because where are we going to get the teams to do it?
I believe US already has the teams set up for them. It's now just seeing how they're going to build that tier of who's going to be first in their league, and then secondary after that. Because prior to that, it was MLS and then UCL, but there was no Pro Rel because our secondary teams are in there, right, Wilson? Like
Yeah,
RB2, stuff
yeah.
like that. They're in there, so there was no there'd be no conflict of interest between the two. Um, I believe also didn't Philly have like a young team like that too? They had basically
Hmm.
almost all of MLS clubs prior, a few of them have their secondary club in USL. That's the only thing I have questions about. Are those teams going to get kicked out? I don't know. That's the only questions that I think might be a big concern.
So I saw that there's going to be 3 levels in this thing. I couldn't find how many teams are going to be in each tier.
Okay. I
Did,
think
did, do either of you know?
no, because it's as far as we know, they kept that behind. They're keeping a lot of it tight roped because I did look into it. I'm like, how is this going to work with some states have a handful of USL teams and some don't. I believe Orlando was one, right? Before they became
Hmm. Yeah.
officially in our on our side. San Diego, I believe, was another one. I believe
Yep.
they played there too. So and Drogba's team, Phoenix, that was another one that was supposed to come through the pipeline, and I don't know if that's still happening or not. That's one of the questions we're still waiting to figure out who else is still joining MLS. But so far from hearing from a lot of the soccer people, they seem really excited about this because there's a chance now that you can get promoted and be on the first league, which sounds really cool in my opinion.
It's
Uh,
exciting as a fan who
Yeah.
watch European football, but I think there's a lot of questions.
I'm super. I love it because now it means that all these games mean something.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And then for me, also some teams that honestly could probably also use some TV rights. I'm wondering who's that going to be. That's going to be huge. We know me and Wilson used to watch it on ESPN, and the thing that stinks about ESPN is blackouts. That was the worst part about it. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
you stayed at home because, it was rainy or just like you couldn't make the game, but you still couldn't watch it because it was blacked out.
Yeah. I mean, one of the positives about Apple TV is you could watch whenever.
Any game. And that
Uh,
was on the
yeah.
promotions, right? Where
Yep.
it was like
Yeah. And as a
watch.
season ticket holder, you get a subscription included.
Yep. So it was really cool to have that. I'm wondering if USL is going to throw that, or to be honest, I know me and Wilson talk about it all the time. We love the coverage of Apple TV. It's crisp, clear. The commentators they got really good. The basically the replays and how you can watch a game anytime that you want. I hope that maybe Apple jumps on it because that would be really cool too. Like that'd be really great. I think Apple is should be the next network people watch out for sports because they do a really good job. It's great, and their MLS hub, that's also fun too. Like hearing everybody talk and past talent talk about stuff, super cool, super cool.
So why do we think that they're waiting until 2027 to go head to head with MLS?
Um, I think like Wilson would probably agree with me, is probably finding the financial backup for it. That's got to be huge. You just like parachute payments. I think it's like in La Liga. I think it's also in Prem. A lot of these things have that, and so here in the U.S., I believe MLS was a lot of these people don't want to lose out on their investments. Like Chicago, we've been saying that for years. Chicago's been horrible for years, even when they got names, but they don't perform. They would always be in the bottom. I think that's the one thing they have to figure out. We don't want that. Or drafts, right? Also, some
Yeah.
leagues with drafting, you play really bad, you get first pick. I think that's another thing they might have to figure out because USL also does drafts. So that's a huge part.
Uh, I don't know how a draft would work with promotion and relegation.
That's a
Yeah,
question that we
that's
have
tricky.
about that too. It's a
Yeah,
huge question. It's
yeah. So like,
huge.
I'm really like, did they just come out and just say this and say we're going prem and regulation just to say it to kind of like re-get their name out there? Because that's a big statement to make when unless they have the answers and they're just not sharing them yet.
I don't know. Here's the only thing I can say is that Wilson, remember a few years ago before NYCFC was coming in, we only heard rumors of another New York team coming in, and we
Yeah,
thought it was
yeah.
the Cosmos.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
Cosmos believed that too, which we thought, why not? An old school club, kind of a rebranding of the Metro Stars. That didn't happen. They got very pissed. They were very mad. And that was one thing that we heard, like a lot of people started investing back in the Cosmos. And we started noticing that with a lot of the lower league teams too, like Drogba, again, with his Phoenix team. He could have bought in a big club or got into it, but he didn't. He decided to get a smaller club. I'm just thinking it's going to be one of those where they're going to have basically trying to find maybe another 20 Will Farrells to like invest in some of these clubs. And it's working though. Ryan Reynolds and all them, they're doing it in Wrexham. I believe one of there's a couple investments in the Houston Dynamo, LAFC. We've seen that. That's huge investment for them. And of course, you have like Seattle with some of their like like local movie stars and talent that invest in that group too. I think it's going to be mostly that. And if they go that route, it might work. To be honest with you, buy in cheap and go out like Beckham. Beckham got in cheap, and look how much his club is worth now.
I think that's the key. I mean, how many like NBA players, football players are getting into some investments into these smaller clubs across Europe? LeBron was an early investor in Liverpool a few years
Yep.
ago. I forgot how much he's made off that, but I mean, his investment has gone over 100%. So the fact that you're seeing these owners make profits off these teams, why not do it here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So like, my boss here at Bleacher Brothers, AJ, he bought into Carrick Rangers in Ireland. And you can buy in for as little as $100, but it's like these. It's similar to GoFundMe, but it's a WeFundMe. And this guy was like a big time Microsoft guy that bought that team, and now he's slowly selling shares to people around the globe to become an owner. Like the three of us right now could go on there and buy shares and say we're owners of Carrick Rangers. So I mean, they could possibly take that tact here. I would
Uh,
rather much say I'd rather own a team here than in Ireland,
I believe that
right?
is the LAFC model because it's Will Ferrell, Mia Hamm, right? There's a couple of them that are in investment groups in
Yeah, yeah,
LAFC. Um, and I believe it's going to reach out more because it's not like clubs are not looking for investment. Look at us at New York Red Bulls. We just got Sports Illustrated Stadium, so I think they're looking for investments any way that they can, and I think they might do the Beckham model and just get in cheap, get a good chunk of it, and then just promote. And I don't think it's going to be horrible for them to do that Why not? If you get a movie star or who knows, you
But
can
then
just
they're gonna want bigger stadiums. I was looking at the size of some of these stadiums, and they're 4 or 5 thousand people.
true. But I will say this: USL fan base is very strong. You can watch some of their games. There's people there, and there's only ideas about growing, and it's not like we've never heard, teams sharing a stadium together. The Smurfs versus coming to RBA. Rent's due first of the month. So that's been like that. You
I'm
never
just
know.
I'm just wondering though, like if they can't get bigger stadiums to get the bigger ticket sales, is it going to be sustainable at the level they want it to be? If they're going to rival MLS,
I think that's why you see it coming down the next 2, 3 years. I think it's something they're trying to figure out. I know they did not go in this naively. I've heard they've actually talked to bigger names in other leagues and how to do this. I think that's the part we're going to be surprised by. Because if you really look, uh, and Wilson can say this, when going to RBA, there was only a few sponsorships there. Now they're
Yeah.
almost in every corner. They're at outside, they're inside. There's the Audi Club, there's the Honda Gate, there's all this stuff like that. And now we're Sports Illustrated stadiums that are called Red Bull Arena. I think, dude, just getting the right names, the right people, the right locations, and again, it's not like you can't borrow a football stadium for the weekend for right now, or until yours gets set up. Or, I mean, New England does it. Um,
Yeah.
Smurfs do it with the Yankees. They share a stadium.
Well, even
Um,
Gotham FC, they
yes,
played
yep.
RBA
Gotham plays a lot
or
of their games.
Sports Illustrated Stadium now.
Yeah, and they get a good crowd. They get, especially later on in the season, but they get a good crowd. It's not like they can't do that, and I think it'd be actually really good because you can say home of more than one team. Yeah, they might be your rivalries, but this is something to me, and maybe you guys can think about this: ABA and NBA. You had two different leagues playing at the same time. Eventually, they have to merge because there's just too much of it. And I think in the long run, that's probably why they might do this.
that's a good thought.
Yeah, but you get enough big numbers of one league, you just can't ignore them, right? You can't. What happened if
Yeah.
USL's hitting really good numbers of a certain team? You're not going to be like, oh, I want, I want the Los Angeles Padres. All right, well, okay, cool. You have like LA Galaxy and LAFC. Yeah, but their numbers are peaking right there. I just don't think MLS would ignore that. I just don't think so. Especially they
I mean
have a
that's
good.
happened across the major sports. You've had leagues come together in the NFL, MLB. You've had numerous leagues, and then it's the leagues that we know of as today.
And then they merge. I just don't see how, especially how some of us are super dedicated. We're supporters. We travel. I mean, come on, like me and Wilson, we went to LA. There's no joke. If you give us a good game and you give us the names that are coming in, I just don't see how MLS and USL can ignore it for too long and be like, all right, let's talk about a merger. Let's talk about this.
I think eventually they're going to have no choice but to merge.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
And especially how me and Wilson, we always have this conversation in our groups. The more teams we collect in MLS, how long can you play a normal league? How long? There's going to have to be. We already have an Eastern and Western conference, but
Mm-hmm.
I think now, Wilson, sometimes some clubs are only playing them once, right?
yeah. Just
When
once.
we used to play them twice, home
Yeah.
and away, and now we only play them once. It's getting that congested, and it will happen to USL too. So merger talks wouldn't be surprising.
Yeah, I think that's a good thought, good theory. Um, what do you guys think about the game tonight?
Kids, right? We're playing mostly kids. Um, I'm hoping for the best, to be honest with you, because I mean, we talk about it all the time, right, Wilson? Like, it's next year. Next year. We might have our own little "it's coming home" moment,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you have to cheer them on, and no matter who it is and going on there, who's playing, um, and the stars for next season. We don't really know, right? It's still concrete. We don't really know who's going to be playing because we actually have a lot of kids all over, not only just MLS, but all over the world. And to pick your, what's the number now? 26?
26.
26,
Bro,
yeah.
dude, that's hard. That's hard. And a lot of more of these players, you got to choose between, your first and second choice. Some of them are a little hard because who's like playing really good right now. So,
I
And then
think it's still early to tell too, but I mean, I
Mhm.
kind of like this Pochettino ball. The team looks good. We actually have some sort of identity and style to play.
oh, that's so exciting too. The Pochettino ball. It's so exciting. That's
the fullback from Fulham's not playing tonight.
oh, Robinson.
Yeah, he picked up an injury in the past 48 hours, and there's a couple of other guys that are out injured. So I was reading up on some of these. I'm not going to say that they're kids, they're early 20s that might get to see some time tonight and get to be
And
able to play.
we always notice too, like some players they get their chance to go in and have in a camp, like Tolkien. Remember, he went in there for a little while. He's playing in Europe. He might come back in there. Robles was in and out as like a keeper from time to time when he was, in New York Red Bulls. Is Captain America hurt? Is Pulisic hurt?
Yeah.
So that hurts too. Ricardo Pepe, he's doing pretty good right now. So let's see how it goes. I mean, you got actually a plethora, but Pochettino ball, yeah. I mean, also kids who can adapt to that too. That system is pretty rigid. So we'll
But
see who can.
Panama can be tough.
Oh, Panama, dude. Panama. Oh, remember when two of our defenders were on that team too?
Yeah.
And they just bossed us the last time we played. I'm like, no, I don't want to cheer for you, but I mean, Panama's no pushover. I
No,
mean,
not at all.
and me and Wilson, sadly, our other home country doesn't really play that well. Guatemala, like we watch them
Yeah.
when you can. Young, super young, but like even that, we don't know what to expect with Panama. I really don't, because they have veterans and youth that are just so good. I
Yeah.
really don't know.
When this is over, I'm going to throw it on. I'm going to be dialed in because I'm going to be curious as to how we do.
Oh yeah,
This is a semifinal, so I don't know how it's going to go.
Hey, it's crunch time. I mean, this World Cup is next summer. Japan is the first non-host nation to qualify for the World Cup, so it's time for players to step up and really, start preparing, get ready.
hmm
Yeah, I mean we're a host nation next year.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
94 was great, right? Not 90,
yeah,
was it 90? Yeah, 90.
yep.
We did well then. We did well in '02 over in Asia. We had a good showing, but
I feel like the
outside,
expectations are high this time,
is it because we missed last time?
that we're hosting and we have a good solid core of young players. The people are saying the next generation of the Landon Donovans, the Josie Outdoors, the yeah,
Dempsey's.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And also, as Wilson stated, Pochettino ball, which he loves youth, which that's great too. He's always willing to teach him and learn him. He loves youth. So, I mean, we saw that when he was at Spurs. That's great. He had a couple diamond in the roughs that he picked out. That was great for him there. I also feel like he probably can help them some players just fixate on what they're supposed to do, their role. This is what you're supposed to do, instead of sometimes what we've seen with, we used to say with, the prior manager, we weren't too happy with him many times. Some players just not playing the position that they were supposed to, or the way that we know how they play. And it was kind of just like, all right, dude, you just wasted a game for no reason. Thanks. Thank you very much. So you had that too.
Yeah, and you got Mexico and Canada on the other side. So
Two
it's
two countries that have Mexico rebranding and Canada rebranding. And as far as I know, Canada whooped us last time. So
Like Canada has rebranded. They're a
yeah.
different team now.
And Mexico is just a bunch of great youthful players that I think that's one team one country we got to look out for sure, because it's a bunch of youth and they beat us. What was it, 2-0? Same thing, right? Yeah, 2-0 to us. Ugh.
is Captain America with the team or is he in Italy with Milan?
I
Do
don't
we
know. He was
know?
injured, so I don't know actually. That I do not
I
know.
think he might be with the team. I saw a video with him yesterday with him and Will Smith were doing something.
Oh, so probably there for, promotion wise.
Yeah.
Or maybe if they make the final on Sunday,
That's true. It's not
he's
behind a
recovering
manager saying
time.
like, "Oh no, he's injured," and then next thing you know, like, "Oh no, he's right here. He's all good." Like, you never know. Like,
Yeah. I'll, I won't be shocked if they lose tonight.
I think like in the beginning, and I believe the same thing. Like Wilson and our good corporate friends, when we talk, is that we just want to see some good play.
Yeah.
We just want to see some good. Can the midfield do what they're supposed to do? Can they hold on to the ball? Can they distribute? Strikers is the one thing we've been always talking about, right, Wilson?
Yeah.
Who is the prominent striker on this team? Because they always come from Pulisic or Pepe or lots of rando people compared to the years past when we knew it was like Lewandowski. I mean, sorry, literally coming from Bobby Woods or Josie Altidore. We had names that we know we can count on. Now it's kind of like we got a front. Who's going to score?
And we
Plus, can we
always
see some fire from the players?
Mm-hmm.
and we always have to remember, like, these guys aren't together like they are with their club teams. They're flying in for 2 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
And it's a couple of months since they've worked with each other. And in this great game of footy, like you have to have that connection. And when you're not playing alongside the same people all the time, it makes it more difficult here.
Yeah, I will agree that. I believe that's the many camps we've seen, right? In the past, Wilson, it's just a completely new
Yeah.
camp. And that we knew was just like, all right, what are we going to get out of this? Players playing with like randos that they have probably never actually done with to the left or to the right of them, seeing how they play and seeing how they move. And like I mentioned before, sometimes you're like, dude, you don't play like that. What are you doing? That's not the system that you're used to. And so, just like Wilson said, fire. I want to see fire. I want to see a defender get knocked down, get right back up, and go get his ball back. That's what I want. I want to see a Pulisic fight in the front to drive himself into the box. I hope we see a lot more of that. Distribution too, right? We've been wanting that for a while. Let's work on that distribution. That's huge.
All right.
For me,
Go
it's
ahead.
keepers though. Keepers is the one thing I'm because they're not playing regularly right now.
That's the other concern, right?
Mm-hmm. They're not playing regularly right now. I believe what was it? Stefan Fry is to a lower league division team now. And who was the other gentleman? He got let go of Forest. He was playing for New England.
Matt Turner.
Matt Turner. And he was on fire for a while too. And then literally Nottingham Forest goes, "We don't want you anymore." And then shoot him away. And I haven't heard from where he's been since.
All right, so Henry, we got to talk about it. Wilson, if you want to stay, you can stay. If you got to go, go.
I'll stay just to hear Henry's thoughts.
Maybe be support. It's okay, man.
So going into the first leg of Champions League against PSG, I was on cloud nine.
Yeah.
Happy with how they were playing. We talked about getting knocked out of the FA Cup, whatever, but we were lucky in game one, the first leg. That if that goal wasn't ruled offside, I still don't even know how they called it offsides. It was insane to me. We were so exposed.
Oh yeah.
In the first, not only the first leg, you thought we would have done something to fix it in the second leg.
No, it was almost like a match replay. It felt like that. Just felt like it was a match replay. A Salah that was unfortunately, it's okay. So I think there's a couple people who disagree with me. This was mostly down to slot. I'm sorry, you should have known how they play. You should know how PSG are. You had a defender at PSG that had Mohamed Salah's number the whole time. He barely got any touches. And then anytime he did, it was trying to get into the box, and there goes the ball right out of his feet, or to the other side, or just not letting him get a pass through. And then I think maybe Matt, you might be agreeing with me. Why are you not playing people like Harvey Elliott and Chiesa when they don't get regular time and they are the freshest of legs? And right after a Southampton game too. What are you doing? What are you doing? Did you not learn earlier when when McAllister left to go play for his country and he came back and he was just not the same dude? He was
Hmm.
tired. He was tired. Yeah, you have to put those concepts in there that when you have a good roster of players and they go home to go play in their national games, they're going to give it all out. So one thing we worry about right at the Red Bulls when they leave, Wilson, we worry
Yeah.
about them getting hurt. I mean, we worry
Oh,
about
I'm
them.
I'm I'm worried about that now with Barcelona. Like we have Champions League games right after the international break, so and we always have guys who come back hurt.
Yeah, and so Slot should understand that is that you really at this point in the season, and you might contest to this too, Matt. You really don't think they're getting this deep down in the season. They're not going to give 110% every single game. It's time management you got to look out for, and I don't think he took that into consideration at all.
And some stuff came out about Elliot specifically in between the two legs, and Slot was like, "There's just other guys that are just going to play over him," and I don't think that's a good point of view to have. Yeah,
No,
like are there better guys in the squad? Yes, but can those guys give you that 110% from day one to day 200? No.
mm-mm.
And
And
his squad rotation to me has been a little eh.
hey,
And
there you go.
I have a feeling that after what occurred in the first leg, where he brings on Darwin, he brings on Harvey. Look what happens. Darwin assist, Harvey the goal. He's like, I'm the master of substitutions. I'll just continue to bring these guys on with 6, 7 minutes left in the game. And the pressure that we were under from PSG in the first game was insane. And the amount of running and the amount of, coming back to defend and get behind the ball. I don't know. Like to me, it was shocking. I was nervous about PSG. John and I had a long conversation about it, but I didn't expect to get run over by the locomotive.
Uh, I think we should take to account. I feel like anytime a club gets a new manager, and I know that's happened like with all of us. He was from Feyenoord, much different league. I don't believe it's as strongly competitive as it would be La Liga and Prem, La Liga, or even Bundesliga, where you have how many tournaments do you have in La Liga, Wilson? You probably have like two or three.
Three, but I mean the Prem is in a class of its own. Like you guys are
Yeah,
playing so many games. It's
FA Cup, Carabao, and if you're in Champions League,
yeah,
or
yeah,
or even now conference, I forgot about that. I'm sorry, conference and
yep.
Euros. So you gotta. It's a whole different league where you have to be smart in how you're putting out your numbers and how you're playing. Again, we came from we were just playing a game prior, and now you put this on. To me, it's like Slot. I don't. I think you're underestimating some teams, or you think it's as usual when you were at Feyenoord. And I think you gotta. And it's his first year, so I'll give him a buy on that. But next year, you need to learn something. It's the same thing Klopp learned his first year too. It's just like, okay, I cannot just pull out the same 11 every single game. You got to learn how to manage some certain players, and also at the same time, fresh legs. Again, Nunez, so you had Nunez, you had Chiesa, and you had Harvey and Jones. You put them on, what happened? Completely different game. Good. You figured that out. Don't you think you would try to start them the next time, wear out PSG, and then put in the vets to go kill the game off? I hope he learns. I hope he learns. But
So, did you see the comments from Jamie Carragher the other day?
I've seen a few. He made a lot of statements.
The one about basically wholesale changing the whole front line except for Salah. You
That to
know,
me just sounds like just an angry Liverpool from Twitter. That's what it sounds like to me. That's any. I think anybody um would take maybe not Darwin for his energy. Yes, Luis Diaz again. The rumor with you guys going at Barcelona. God, he would be so good in that team. I'm
He's
not gonna
also
lie.
on the table. He's also on the table at PSG. I think that's a long
That
time
too.
rumor.
You have him there, and then you have literally Mohamed Salah. Other than Barcelona, I don't think anybody else would say no to Mohamed Salah coming into the team. You got Lamine Yamal, so I think you're good there. But
Well, we can't afford anybody, so
but there you go, that too.
well, he was talking Jota too.
Yeah, Jota was again a curious case, and it's the same. And this is why I also say I believe this is all Slot's fault. You saw Gakpo. What was he taking a nice jog around? The brother couldn't do anything. He looked like exhausted. Like he was just like, all right, or he didn't get awake, or no one gave him a Red Bull. It's the same thing with Jota. It's just the foot's not in the right place. His running and his interceptions and the places that he's getting into, that's not the same Jota we know. He likes those tiny little spaces that he can, go into. He's going in an open wide spot, and I'm like, dude, that's not how you play. I don't know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing.
I think it would be good business for LFC to move on Diaz.
I think if the rumors are true that the teams want him, okay, cool. Let's see what we can do with him. Nunez, I would honestly, I know a lot of people might go against it, but I would love to keep him as a reinforcement because you can't buy a player like that, dude. He's ready every week.
You got to keep him.
He's ready every week. He can play all the time. Yeah, he misses, but he's ready all the time. Jota, I believe, would be the one. Let's ask it. Do you mind being a squad player next year? Do you mind? Because if you do, then maybe you should go. If you don't, stay. But just letting you know, there's going to be 2 or 3 other people fighting for your spot. So
Yeah, I just feel like we're missing something up there because if it's not Mo, it was Gapgo for a couple of games. Sobersly's had a couple. Max had one or two, but like, I don't know, man. Like, I would love to find another Suarez, another El Nino, just to get
so
that true number 9 up there. And it's just,
but here's the thing: what I say with Slot with a number 9, and maybe Wilson could say that because he's outside the box for Liverpool, so he's just watching the games for entertainment. A number 9 has to be a person that honestly needs to be like Bobby. I don't think a Jones like a Curtis Jones would be okay in that spot to like because you see him try to run in right and try to put in that ball,
yeah.
but he's not that type of player. We need somebody that can actually like push into like basically like Jota was when he first came here. Very healthy, wasn't getting hurt a lot too much, and again he was playing just like Bobby was too. Little flicks, little tricks, and doing all that kind of stuff like that. We need somebody like that who could be a 9 and a false.
I was just gonna say, do you guys think you need a false 9?
I feel like maybe
Why,
we
you got
need.
one for us?
Yeah, we'll give you Lewandowski in like 2 years when he's like
No.
38.
Kind of like that. I don't know. It's I think it's a better perspective from somebody who doesn't watch the game like us because we see it in one certain image. People who are outside can tell us like this is what maybe you might be missing.
So we only got a couple minutes. I wasn't able to see it. But let me ask you this. Did Newcastle follow the blueprint of PSG?
No. In my opinion, they really wanted it more. They really wanted it more.
Yeah.
It's every tackle, every interception, every single time of possession, every long ball, every defensive play that they made. I forgot who it was on their side. Wilson, you might have saw it. The guy who was beating his chest, screaming every time he got the ball on Newcastle side.
Bruno Guimaraes.
Guimaraes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. every single player. And honestly, for me, this is the one thing that this is why I also say it was Slot that made this. Why do you put the smallest dude on your team versus the tallest guy at Newcastle, Dan Burns? Why? Why would you put McAllister against Burns? That just made no sense to me. It
And
just made no sense.
I did see the other day that Slot blamed part of the performance on Newcastle with the long ball.
And zones. And he goes zones. No, brother. No. I'm sorry. I'll tell you bluntly. No, it wasn't. You made the wrong call. You put the wrong players and you made the wrong formation. Just eat him. Just eat it. Just eat the loss, Slot. Admit
It
that you got it
almost
wrong.
it almost seemed like Liverpool was just shell shocked from their loss against PSG. Like they just
Yeah.
couldn't pull anything together.
Yeah. Mentally, right? It seemed like mentally
Yeah,
they
yeah,
weren't there.
yeah. It was definitely a mental thing.
Yeah. Mentally.
They didn't even deserve to win the first game.
Well, you know what? I'll ask Wilson because he's off on the side and you watched the game. Did you see any fire? I did not see any
No,
fire
no,
until the
not.
last maybe 15 minutes, maybe the last. And I'm being very, very nice about that. I'm gonna say maybe the 10 was the best because you had literally Kaysa come on, and that dude needs to play more. He needs to play more. I don't care if it's in the center or in the left. He needs to play more. Harvey needs to play more. That's fire. That's fight. Those are two players ignored, given their chance. Don't. It's Plymouth that you put him against, but again, a Plymouth who wanted it more, and I think that's the big problem there.
So
It's
do you
funny
think?
you say Chiesa. Isn't he on the brink of possibly not getting? If you guys win the Premier League, he's not going to get a medal just because he hasn't played enough.
3 more games.
3 more.
3
I
more.
mean, it's insane. He's a solid player. You guys brought him in what this year,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, for 10, 14 total.
Yeah, 14 total.
Wow.
14 total. And he, dude, even in the games that we did not play that well, when he played, I don't see why. I don't see no fight. I see tons of fight. I see tons of fire from him. I see a guy who wants to earn that name on the back of his kit.
So do you think this was like a hangover from the PSG fallout
Yeah.
and the devastation of, because for me, we should never be losing at this place behind me
No,
on a
we should
Champions League night.
no. But it came
And
more
that,
from the fans than it came from them. That's the sad part. I can hear all the Liverpool chants, but I'm just like, I'm not hearing no screaming from anybody in there.
when
Usually
we
that's what you
walked,
see.
yeah, when we walked out of MJ's after the first leg, we were all like, thank God we're going home and we're going to Anfield because that's going to be our chance to hold on to this thing. And it was just, I don't know, like, to use Wilson's word, like, we're stunned, we're shocked. And I think the players kind of just rode that into the Newcastle game, looked at their performance against Newcastle a couple of weeks before, and said, oh, we win this cup tons. This is not going to be an issue. And it sounds like they just didn't show up.
No, and I think we've learned. I think as Red Bull fans, me and Wilson have learned that being the 12th man helps a lot, but sometimes it doesn't do anything. Sometimes if the team just doesn't have the fight, it's not going to happen. And I believe that's what happened to us. There was just no fight, and so shell shock, like Wilson said, just like they look stunned. I mean, and my biggest problem there too, and again, that's why I said it's Slot. Why are you putting in a player to play over 60 minutes who's going through Ramadan right now? That is a huge question.
Yeah.
When you
All
really
right,
could have used Keza.
we're up against it. Wilson, appreciate you having come on. Henry,
Thank you for having me.
again. Everybody else, we'll see you next time. Have a good night.
When you walk through a storm, hold your head